Hey, what's going on? It's another episode of the Teel podcast. And like always, I have another great guest. Eric Akin, what's going on?
What's up, Joe? Been a while.
Yes, sir. We go back a while.
Yeah, or wait, been a minute. I was supposed to say right. I gotta be,
It's been a minute.
Relevant.
There you have it. No, Eric is like a superstar to me, like a Matt Fry type character in my head, like a Derek Murphy maybe. These people that especially in a certain point of time, like super inspire me. And I'm excited that after all these years, I've kind of got a little show going. I was like, man, I got to get these same people back on here.
Yeah.
And you got some cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, man. First off, man, just thanks for having me. What an opportunity, man. Proud of you for what you're doing. And man, from the beginning, you were part of what we were doing. And so, man, you were...
That was the first one.
You were like the guy.
Yeah, that was the first one, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So, Feels the Faith's coming up.
Yes.
And, we started it. This will be... My wife found a picture the other day, and my boys were like, holy cow, like they were so little, and but this will be year number 12 here in Texarkana.
Wow.
And, yeah, man. So, and it's grown. This one's grown, and so it caused us to kind of reevaluate some things. And
how many people were at the first one?
Man, we had about 2,300 is what we estimate. And we were really growing, hit 19, like, okay, dude, this is like getting crazy. Then COVID hit.
Yeah. So. When I looked at from the stage, though, at the first one, that didn't feel like a small crowd. That felt humongous. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because your perspective changes sometimes when you start talking numbers and stuff.
Right.
I ordered pizzas the other day for an event. I'm like, hey, I need 150. I don't think about that as a big number. And I don't mean that arrogantly at all. You're just like, and they're like, yeah, we can do it. And you're like,
they're calling their cousins and stuff up there and make pizzas.
Yeah. So they're like, he's like, I didn't even think about this. And this dude goes, I got to get a trailer. I was like, oh, bringing pizzas on a trailer.
Yeah.
But man, that's what Feels the Faith has done. It's just exploded. I think somewhere between 4,500 and 5,000 last year, Texarkana. But we reevaluated because like Cass County, Atlanta, Queen City, that area, it was growing so fast. So we said, hey, there's about 300 kids coming from there. Let's go put one in Atlanta. Well, it went to 1,200. Wow. And so we thought, well, that'll relieve this one. There'll be this hole there. It's filled back up, and so it's...
You think they came twice or something?
No, I don't. I think just the word's getting out here in town, and then a lot of Arkansas schools come. And so, believe it or not, we actually have 6 of them now. So
6 different locations?
6 different locations.
6 different events. Yes. Oh my gosh.
So we actually start on September 25th in Paris, and then we go 6 straight weeks. So we go Paris, Pleasant Grove, Atlanta, Magnolia, Monticello. We skip a week because we know all the churches are going to have their Harvest Festival.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they ain't going to miss that.
Yeah, free candy night. Yeah. You don't even have to hit the board. You get candy anyway. Yeah. So everybody gets a trophy.
At the church for sure, yeah.
And then we'll finish up in Pittsburgh. And that one we're moving around. So we've done it in Dangerfield. Then we did Mount Pleasant last year. And then this year we're going to be in Pittsburgh. So we're hoping to see 10,000 kids come to Feels the Faith this year, total.
Yeah. Which is, I think that's doable for sure. I remember when you first told me like what it was, like the original, like, hey, just going to get all these kids together and put them in a stadium. And I was like, wow, that sounds crazy. Yeah.
Well, I was actually told, it's crazy you say that because I was actually told it wouldn't work.
So I'm just sure somebody was out there. That won't work.
Yeah, and
so there was like resistance or just like doubt.
We've tried this before. I don't know it'll work, but this is what people said to me. This is what's crazy, Joe. Is they said, "I trust you, so I'm gonna give it a try." And I think there's power in that phrase of trust.
Definitely.
And I was like, wow. First off, I think that's an honor to be trusted. Then second, to jump in, and then you see God get in it, and because it's His idea anyway, and you're like, okay, this thing, we're talking to Chicken Express, and they're calling us like, hey, the Doties are just unbelievable people. I've been a part of it from the beginning. And, just to kind of, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but to back up a little bit, I go and talk to Kevin Davis, who was the AD at Pleasant Grove. I was like, share this vision. Man, I think we can get 500 kids here. He said, dude, I'm in, but you need to go talk to the superintendent. So I go talk to Dr. Williams, and he's like, okay, so we're going to share Christ. They're going to have an opportunity to come to know Christ in the stadium. He goes, I'm in. So I start walking out. I thought, you know what? He mentioned the facilities guy. So I'm going to go at that time, which is what Mr. Fry does now, was Steve Chateau. And I go to Steve and I'm like, here's what I want to do. Well, what I didn't know is Steve is in this small group at his church, and he goes, hey, guys, we need to pray about this, man. This guy was in my office. I had never met Steve, who owns Texarkana Gun Bar now, or Alpha Defense.
Okay. Yeah, I was over there today.
Yeah, they're one of our sponsors this year.
Awesome. Yeah.
And, man, they're just incredible. And he starts telling his small group about what we're going to do. And next thing I know, Miss Doty's calling me, Rick's wife, Missy, and she's calling me going, hey, what do you think, first 500? I'm like, sure, man, we can do some Chicken Express. I have to call them back. I'm like, hey, I think this thing's going to take off. They're like, I tell you what, we'll do the first 1,000. And the rest is history. For the last 12 years, wow. Chicken Express has been a part of this. And, people have heard Doty, Rick Doty say, man, my wallet, my heart's at the cross. That's different. When you get a business owner that says that, like, you're fixing to see an impact. And I mean, God's just blessed his business.
I just imagine.
And it's some good chicken too.
Yeah, I just imagine the kitchens, like trying to 1,000 boxes of chicken.
Oh, it's, they have to use multiple locations, obviously, and they split it up with Arkansas and Texas and having multiple restaurants.
Is there any out of town people cooking chicken? Or?
No, it's just 3 locations here and they're rolling it out. And my man, Kurt Killett over there is killing it. No pun intended. Like, Kurt makes it happen, and he's just like, all right, when is it this year? Like, it's just...
It's like the Super Bowl of kitchen work.
Yeah, we just need to get a time lapse.
Yeah.
Just boom, boom, boom,
Golly, that's got to be a hectic day.
It is. I mean, I'd love to know what time they start cooking it.
Yeah, to keep them fresh, to give you fresh chicken, 1,000...
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
But, man, and we've had people like, man, I think you can do away with the chicken. I don't think that's really, quote, an attractant. But I get emotional thinking about it because I watch kids line up at that gate at 4 o'clock, and you can tell they're there because they need a meal.
Yeah.
And, and I know Matt talked a little bit about it on your podcast. We just got a hunger problem in our city. I mean, you went to high school with some of those kids. And at one point, you could have been one of those, and man, I can't stop doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure a kid is taken care of, and I see a lot of kids in sports with what I do, and they're in sports because they need a meal. And so we're going to keep doing that as long as the Doties will be a part of it.
Yeah,
we're going to do it. I mean, if it reaches one kid, it's worth every one of those workers coming in early.
Right. So. I remember there was a coach, and he was giving this football player a ride to school, and that was like one time it was like 8th grade, and the first time I really had like that type of experience, and I was like, that coach is going out of his way to make sure that kid's all right.
And that's not the only coach.
Oh yeah, I mean, sure there's tons of coaches.
There's so many coaches that do that, and I talk to coaches all the time.
Right,
Eric, it's a miracle that we make it to Friday night.
Wow.
And then we do Fields of Faith, and the coaches buy into it. I mean, as you know, those that don't know, we've got 40 plus school buses that show up and with church vans, and I had security on site as we always do, and he's out directing traffic. And I'm like, oh, yeah, man, I appreciate it. He goes, no, I'm tired. I said, well, I figured you were standing. He goes, no, I directed over 1,200 cars out of the parking lot. Wow. I'm like, I didn't know that.
Right.
And I'm down here trying to make sure all this is part of it. And those guys just volunteering and making it happen. And Steve passed that down to Matt Fry, who's been a part of it from the beginning. And and our board with FCA and just the church volunteers. And Christian Warriors Church last year had 90 volunteers that came out and helped us out. Micah Harp has got a special thing going there, and just all the youth pastors in the area that are part of it. It's a cool night. And the last 2 years, the kids have said, hey, it's Fields of Faith Day. Yeah. So they make this big deal about it.
Yeah, you're established now. Like, it's a thing. They know about it. Yeah.
It is.
Whereas that first year was just like, hey, show up. Now people know. I talk to people. They're like, yeah, I know Fields of Faith. Yeah, that's like a part of the town now.
Yeah, and the T-shirts are still a big deal, by the way.
Yeah.
And you were in the room when we decided that. You remember that?
I remember sitting there. Yeah. Well, they had tamales that day. I remember based off food, y'all. A lot of my memory has to do with food.
My man can eat, too.
Yeah.
So, before we started, he's scorping down some energy burgers from Burger King.
Yeah, I don't know about the energy. That Bacon King makes me feel.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's liquid smoke.
It is. Yeah, I can't. I don't eat fast food very often, but I get in a bind and eat it and then always regret it.
Yeah.
I've already sworn off McDonald's. I don't mess with McDonald's anymore.
Yeah. Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, I'm not ready to quit Chick-fil-A.
Chicken Express. I mean, we got to go there.
Yeah, I'm not
quitting on it.
I had that last week.
Yeah.
But it is hard to go back to work. Like working outside, had this big plate of chicken and mashed potatoes, and then I went back out in the heat, and I was like, ooh.
You understand why our Mexican brother's like, I need to take a nap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I need a Rubalcabas. I go to Rubalcabas at lunch. Ruin me for the whole rest of the day. But anyways, back to Fields of See, if we can't talk about food, I'll go that way.
That's right.
So it's huge now. People know what it is. The shirts are a big deal.
Yeah. So we started with 1,000 shirts, and now we're at 2,000 shirts. Wow. We actually ordered more than that this year. It's just unbelievable. And we were talking because I have the artwork still from year one, and to look at where we barely had enough on there to pay for them. So now it's like.
What color was the shirt that year?
Black.
That was okay. Yes. Yeah. I remember Whitney still has that shirt. I seen it in the closet the other day. Yeah, that was the first one. It had the dots on it. Yeah.
Okay. I need you to take a picture and just post about it. Like the OG
shirt, yeah.
So, because now, like the back of it, somebody's like, it looks like a NASCAR thing.
Oh, there's got to be tons of.
I mean, I had to call her. I had a lady yesterday. She's like, can I please get on the shirt? And I'm like, well, they're already in print, so let me call them. They reburned the screen for me. So this lady could get on it. I mean, it's unbelievable. Girly Girl T-shirts, who's a big deal nationally, and the Derek and Paige Pace are part of that, and just take care of us on that. So, man, it's crazy how it's grown. It's just humbling at the same time, and even our production's grown. I mean, we've got LED screens now.
Wow.
I don't know if you remember, we had scaffolding.
Yeah, we had the scaffolding. I remember that.
And we're trying to okay, at dark. Y'all are going to sing, and I'm going to try to line up the video projector stuff. It was like full-on redneck out in the middle of the football field. But now it's just like at a different level. And we do a video testimony still, and the kids just do a phenomenal job at that. That's the highlight, Yeah,
you take kids from the local schools and put them up. Yeah, that's smart.
So, and then, of course, we've had guest speakers coming in, and power team guys, and Jared Hall, the illusionist, came in a couple of times. Cool. This year we got Jason Jackson Jr. So he is, you need to look him up because he is he's starting a podcast, but between Instagram and TikTok, he has over 1 million followers.
Wow.
Done stuff with Prime Drink, done stuff with Line of Judah clothing line, which is an NBA player that owns that. Was at the premiere for The Forge with Priscilla Shiver. I mean, he's gotten connected with her. Like he's the real deal. And so he's even wanting to leverage his followers. He's going to be at all of our fields of faith and leverage that for us. And it's, Jesus said to compel them to come. And a lot of people are like, it's gimmicks. Look, I'm just straightforward. Like, I want people in the stadium so I can share the gospel.
Yeah.
That's just bottom line.
Right.
If we do anything else but that, it's time to shut it down. But that's what we're going to do. So, like our shirts this year, it's kind of a known thing. We're going neon night. It's going to be, all different colored neons are going to be in. So, wear your construction worker stuff and come on out.
I'm going to say I got that. Yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some special things that are going to happen that night that we've never done. That's on the radar. Nobody knows, except for about 3 people. So,
man, and then our community, you just don't. Oh man, the only time you see. Sports do seem to be like the one thing where you do get a lot of the community out. But even then, you got your Texas High people, they go to the Texas High events. And then, your Liberty Hollow go to there. But anytime you get something so big that you're like involving like different communities, even though we're all in the same area, it's like, it's crazy big.
Well, and that's, if you being in that original meeting was the whole vision is we've got these man-made lines that are in our community. I mean, the big one's the state line. And then you've got the racial line. Then you got to the denominational line among churches. And then what you were talking about, you've got the school line. Man, what would it look like if we just erased all the lines and we just come under one name?
Yeah.
Which is Jesus. I mean,
and what a lot of people may not think about so heavy is that denominational line is huge. Mm-hmm. So to get everybody to say, oh, this is good.
Yes.
That's the miracle. That is a huge hurdle.
And those are the people that told me that. I mean, and they weren't being rude. Yeah, I just don't think this is going to work.
Like just real. I mean, what they felt was realistic.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, let's just see what God does.
Right.
And then here we are 12 years later, and God's still using it. And every year, I mean, people got to understand, every year I'm like, God, do we need to do this again? Because I don't want it to just become another event.
Right.
It's got to have impact every year. And so, I mean, our whole goal now is to get kids in a discipleship relationship with somebody, one-on-one, one-on-three, whether it's inside the church or maybe they have a friend that can help them that's a mature believer, a coach, a teacher. I mean, wherever it is, we just want that part of it. So it's really cool to see kids reach for Christ. They come to know Christ. They come into that relationship, but then also they're growing in their faith. Right. That's the big thing that we want.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. So when did you get involved at FCA?
Man, when I was a youth pastor, and I just thought FCA was cool. You know, like, like, hey, that dude, like, he gets to hang out at schools all the time. And so
it is an awesome job. Like, it gotta be. Yeah.
So as a youth pastor, I was doing the same thing. I was always on campus. So then I felt like God called my family and I to go plant a church. So we moved to Rockwall. And I don't want to say I was miserable. I was just like miserable. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
But I was like, and I started reflecting back, what is it? I'm sitting in this office preparing messages every week, that's part of the responsibility, but I'm not feel like I'm reaching people. And I got tired of just being this, I felt like I was the convenience store.
Yeah.
Here come the consumers. I'm going to take care of you. Here's your fix for the week. All right. See you next week.
I wonder if that's how a lot of pastors feel.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, that's got to.
And that's where the burnout comes.
Right.
And I just got tired of that. And I started reflecting back because I interviewed with FCA before I went and planted the church. And I just said, I don't want to be this professional fundraiser because we have to raise every penny. A lot of people don't know that. Like FCA, they don't pay me unless I raise money. Does that make sense? So like if I give a coach a Bible, T-shirts, I mean, any of those things I have to raise the money for, my salary, all of those things, any expense that we have, I have to raise that. And so I was like, I don't want to be it. And here I am. Feel like it. But when you start understanding it, it's people they're investing into what God's doing in the community and within our ministry. So anyway, long story short, I called him back and I said, man, I really feel like the end of this church plant's coming. Just feel like God's transitioning us. Is that position available? Absolutely. So I went and interviewed. And funny story, I was interviewed in Dallas with a guy out of Houston. And I'm like, we get done with the interview. We're walking out. We're at Chewy's and over in off Knox Street. There's a Apple store over that way. SMU is not far from there. And I'm like, hey, bro, I just need to know. Like, I'm in transition. What do you think? The dude looks at me and goes, well, you're not weird. I was like, okay, well, I think some people would think different, but that's awesome. So the next thing we know, we come and have a scouting trip. And man, God put people in our path that just kind of confirmed it to him and to me. One of those people was Mike Dotson. That was the owner-operator of Chick-fil-A for 38 years. And he just walked over and goes, I don't know what this is about. He said, but if you don't hire that guy, you're going to be the dumbest person in the restaurant. He has no clue what's going on.
Wow.
I was like, that's a brilliant man.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah.
Anyway, so I come on staff and you know, Joe, a lot of people don't know this, but I didn't, for the first 4 years, I made $1,000 a month doing FCA. And we're seeing God do stuff at Fields of Faith. We're seeing, I didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, people think, oh, you just make tons of money. You don't do it in this thing. My wife was our breadwinner. I mean, we're renting a place. We're still trying to sell our house in Rockwall. I mean, this whole transition thing was a big deal. But God was faithful through that because we just said, hey, we're going to commit to God even in the wilderness moment. And that's where He grew our faith. Matter of fact, I just wrote at my quiet time this morning, it's in the wilderness that He grows your faith for the mountaintop experience.
Yeah.
To get up the mountain. And man, that's how we got involved in FCA. And I mean, it's just, I'm at the time of my life.
Is a national thing?
Yeah, it's international now. So for a while, when I started, we were just national.
Right.
And we've opened our borders up. And dude, let me tell you, we got over 3,000, nearly 3,000. I think it's around the world. I mean, that number may be totally off, but it's a ton. So like for us, we're Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. And you're like, well, you're part of Northeast Texas. Well, that portion, I'm over Northeast Texas and all of South Arkansas from Oklahoma to Mississippi border. And so we answer to Arkansas directly, but then our region is connected to West Africa. So,
wow. And
so each region in the United States is connected to a different part of the world. Like Texas connected, one of their spots is Dominican Republic.
Cool.
So we help those staff people. So right out of our area I'm one of those guys off of our events. If we make extra, I like to tithe off of it to our international people. So we were able, off of one of our events last year, we were actually able to provide the full budget for a camp in West Africa, in Benin. And there's on our Facebook page and Instagram, Red River FCA, you can see those pictures of this camp. The Bibles, the T-shirts, everything, all the equipment they needed. And they were able to do this camp and share the gospel. I mean, it's a cool thing. Yeah. Right out of here, we're able to impact the world. And it's cool. An international thing. So,
and y'all just have, like you said, y'all have different areas that you run.
Yeah.
And explain to them exactly what you do, because you're with these coaches, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're on campuses, you're at practices, at games, you're in the locker room with them. I mean, it don't get much cooler than that, right?
The locker room, everybody wants to be in it till they smell it.
Yeah.
Let me just tell
I've
you.
been in a locker room before. Yeah.
But the deal is, it's when we moved here, I was just like, God, this is the world's largest sports ministry. FCA is that.
Right.
But what do you want it to be here? I mean, we've got to be grassroots. What do you want that to look like? And so, man, we just felt like we were going to be the glue that's going to hold some things together, whether it's relationships or whatever. So our thing is go deep in relationships. And I have guys in other areas that they'll come down and hang out a day, and they're like, I've never been to an area where the depth of relationship with coaches, like it's just different here. And I'm like, well, that's just kind of our thing. Like we think that ministry's from relationship.
Right.
And because if I want to reach a team, I got to reach a coach. And so we go into coach, we build that relationship with them. We're not there to get anything. I don't need a hat. I don't need a shirt. I'm not trying to get the next greatest thing. I'm not trying to get free tickets.
Right.
I'm there to serve the coach. I'm there to serve his team. And I remember going to Hugh Springs. Coach Edwards was there at the time. And he hung up the phone. I'm sitting in his office. We're sitting like this. Desk is there. And he just hangs up the phone. He goes, what do you want? It was just kind of like he was just done. I said, well, Coach, man, I just want to hang out with you, find out how I can serve you. And I'm not here to take anything, and I'll never ask for anything. He's like, are you serious?
He's probably not used to that.
No, he said, everybody calls me, wants something.
Right.
And he goes, that phone call, they're wanting this. And I just had a guy, I said, man, I don't want anything. He said, my kids will be here in 15 minutes. Can you talk to them? Sure. Went to the phone. What
what are we going to tell them?
But you got to be ready. Paul talks about in season, out of season. You got to be ready. And so that's what we do, man. We just go in and we serve. I mean, I fill water bottles. I've snapped footballs to a quarterback while he's running drills, especially small school. They don't have a lot of coaches. So you try to step in. That way he can work with receivers or quarterbacks one-on-one a little bit more. Man, I've shagged balls. I've thrown baseballs enough. I mean, being the baseball chaplain at Southern Arkansas with Coach Pettigrew, I mean, it's been a fun journey.
And that's at SAU?
Yeah, Southern Arkansas, starting my 8th season.
Oh, wow.
Got 4 rings. Coach Pettigrew's nice enough to let me be a part of the championship side. And,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Is that one of the rings there?
This one of the rings. Ooh. This is actually, I wore it tonight on purpose. This is our World Series ring.
Come on.
In 22, we went to the World Series, which was the top 8 teams in the nation. Won our regional, which we're in the Central region. We were down by 5 in the top of the 9th with 2 outs.
Oh, wow.
And we scored all 7 runs with 2 outs.
They rallied back.
And won it. Yeah,
God,
it's crazy.
That's crazy. That's
won it with a grand slam. So it made it even better. I mean,
it's
it
like
was,
out of a book or
nuts.
something.
Oh, it was nuts.
A movie.
It was the best thing ever. And so to get to hold that trophy, it was pretty cool. So, but Coach Pettigrew, man, he and I just have an amazing relationship. I actually talked to him today about a couple of things, and we started our FCA over there, man. And there's something different about this team this year from an FCA side, a spiritual side. I mean, it's going to be special. I mean, they're doing their own player-led Bible study and got 20 guys coming.
Wow.
And I mean, there's 55 on the roster and nearly half of them are coming. So, and it's growing. So
I can only imagine the environment people are living when they go to college now. It's got to be wild.
The pressure of college sports.
Yeah.
I tell guys all the time that are going to go off, you're going to hear words you didn't think you would hear.
Right.
You know, especially small school, conservative areas. I mean, your coaches are not going to talk to you godly ways all the time. And number two is it's a job. I mean, like our guys, they're up at 6 a.m. working out, go to class, back on the field at 1 o'clock. They got groups right now, and then they'll have team practices. Well, the field's under construction because we're going all turf and the whole field in a brand new outfield fence. So they can't even get on the field till like between 5 and 5:30. So they're going to be late night practices.
Wow.
So trying to manage that time from noon to 5 or whatever time you get out of class, you got to manage it, or you fixing to be up till 3 a.m. and then you got to get up at 5:30 to be ready to do weights. I mean, it's just a full-time job. I mean, it's unbelievable. So
I was talking to Nicholas Reed
oh, yeah.
around here, and
played at SMU.
Yeah, when he was giving me the breakdown of like the NIL stuff and the college stuff, he really made me kind of see that college athlete different. Like he gave me a really good breakdown of like, he's like, yeah, some of the kids on there like they don't have no money, hardly a month, and then some of the kids are like their parents will show up and feed like 6, like. And it's just stuff like that, like these, it's a job that you don't get paid for, but now you kind of can, but now you have to have like a deal.
So check this out. You'll love this since you brought that up. So I'll go to a buddy of mine is a receivers coach at the University of Washington. He said, hey, man, why don't you come up for the Oregon game?
Oh,
sure. He said, because a friend of the Knicks, Bo Nix' family is friends of mine as well. He said, you can see Bo, you can hang with us. I mean, we're staying in this house, like it's a whole different world up there. Like his house is like, it was probably like 2,600 square feet, 2.5 million.
Whew.
Built in this mountain. Mount Rainier's off to the right. I mean, it was crazy. I'm like, okay,
this is fun.
I mean, got all the sights. I mean, seen all the stuff that, got to catch the fish in the market. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But he has me speak to his receivers. Now, the front row, there's 15 of us in the room. The front row is Roma Denze. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Top 10 pick. He's with Caleb Williams now with the Bears.
Okay.
And then you got the McMillan kid from Lufkin. And then you had Polk. No, excuse me, Polk's from Lufkin and McMillan. All three of those went in the draft. That's the front row.
Yeah.
Then you got the kid, same exact scenario what you're talking about. Then you got the kid in the back that he's on the team. Because his parents donate $3 million to the athletic department. Yeah, to the athletic. I mean,
which
so
will
that's
also
why.
Get you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, it's just like, it's just like, it's this dichotomy within the room that Nick, I mean, he's exactly right in the room. And I mean, it's the reality of the world we live in.
Right.
And so, I mean, but that's exactly why. And the crazy part is with what I do is you walk in those rooms, even at SAU being a Division II school, I mean, A&M being NAIA, and high school athletes, they're not going to church a lot. And a lot of guys are trying to discover why. But man, if anybody's out there and you got an athlete that comes to your church, I just challenge you, don't ask for anything. Be there to serve them.
Right.
Just be there to love on them, support them.
You think they're already maxed out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People are always wanting something.
Right.
Free tickets, or they want to talk about the game. I do everything I can, especially at the collegiate level. Yeah. I do everything I can, especially at the collegiate level, to not talk about sport as the illustrations, because they're wanting to talk about something different because that's their life.
Yeah.
And they may have had a bad day on the field and coach shoot them out, and maybe He used words that start with F that are not fun or fellowship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they're not wanting to talk about that.
I know that word.
Correct. I've heard it a lot.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you that, but it's just one of those things, man, that you just got to be there. I mean, we got to stop. We got to stop trying to be takers and consumers. And what would it be like if we just started being givers in our world?
That's a good thought for sure. It just seems like as a whole, like society is being primed to be a consumer. Like that is how America operates. So as a child, you're shown, go buy this, go get this. And so I think a lot of people grow up almost thinking of like, even I'm sure this happens, people seeing almost even their friends as like assets.
Oh yeah.
What do you add to my life? What is this going to add to my life? Are we going to go over here? What does that do for me? And what does that do for me is like a lifestyle. It's an American lifestyle at this point. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, when somebody gives you something, your response will tell you where you are. Because for me, when somebody gives me something, it's hard to take it. Because I love to give. I mean, that's what I do. It's my lifestyle. I give.
Right.
But when somebody's a taker, it's easy. They don't even feel bad. I mean, it's not you feel bad, but you're just like, bro, I don't need this. Or if I take it, I'm trying to give it to somebody else.
Right.
And I think that we've just got to get to that place where we got to be givers. And man, it'll change our world.
Yeah.
To find somebody and not to be so consumer minded, even from the church perspective, but even beyond the church, outside the walls, in our society as a whole.
Right.
And so that's kind of my 2 cents.
One thing that's cool, like I know this not really left, but like marriage, for example.
Oh yeah.
Like that's kind of where my mind goes when you say something like that. It's like that is like the one place where I do feel like she's on my team no matter what, right? So like when she asks me something, it's not for something. A lot of the times, like Whitney's worried about my well-being, and like so you have maybe a handful of people like that in your entire life. I feel like maybe. And so I mean that's your person. That's the But in our day-to-day lives, I see the other side of it. Like I may be here with them because that will do something for them, or. You know what I mean? But marriage is like that safe spot for me where it's like, okay, at least me and her, I can trust her that
it is.
We're not
trust.
taking, trust.
It's a trust piece.
Yeah.
And you know Chase Livingston.
Yeah, I had him on the show.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, I love Chase.
In this seat?
Oh, well, we sat on the couches. It was wintertime.
Oh, man. Okay, good. We should sit on the couches then, because if Chase Livingston sat there, I love Chase. But he shared something on social media. I don't know if you saw it just today, and just about being in the bank and having that nudge to go talk to somebody.
Right.
And spoke to the guy, I'd seen him before. I don't want to get in the details and in the weeds of all of it, but just basically pulled up Facebook and the guy's no longer with us.
Okay, I did read that.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, I mean, that bothered him, as it should.
Right.
That's where we got to get to.
Yeah.
And it's not so much financially, but giving them our time.
Yeah.
Just having a conversation. I talked to our athletes last night. I spoke at FCA for SAU last night. And I have this thing, it's today, and it's an acronym. You got to be tough. You got to be opportunities is owed. Dominate the day. Your attitude's got to be great, and you got to say yes to the right things. But the O is opportunity. Every day we get out of bed, we got an opportunity.
Right, for sure.
I mean, and the illustration I use is, I don't know if you saw, but the Paralympics.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
They take every excuse out of the book.
Right.
I mean, I'm watching this dude. He's the one-legged high jumper.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah, that's insane.
And I'm watching him go over the bar and the place is going nuts. And I'm like, he's doing that with one leg.
Right.
And he's jumping higher than I can with two legs.
What's our excuse? Yeah.
Yeah, what's our excuse? And we keep making excuses of, I'm too busy, I'm in a rush. And then all of a sudden they're not with us, and it checks us, just like the story that Chase is sharing. Like, it'll check you a little bit. You know, to be intentional with that conversation, to just pause. Doesn't have to be for a long time, but just, my wife always tells our boys, practice the pause. And it does a lot of things in our life, you know. So when you practice that pause, whether it's before we speak, that pause can do a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But then to practice the pause in, I need to take time for my family. I need to take time to go talk to this person. When I see them, hey, how you doing? Everything good? Ask about them. Ask about Whitney.
Right.
You know, how's she doing?
Yeah, that is important.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, she needs all the help she can get with
For
you.
sure.
So. No,
Yeah, she's at home.
I got you, Whit.
Yeah, she's home with 2 toddlers, and I'm here sitting on some couches talking at microphones.
It is not my fault, Whit. It's him. So.
Yeah, she does need my help for sure.
Well, I mean, but you're a helpmate. You're a teammate.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, we call it, Angie and I call it team making.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll get in stuff and it's like, hey, team making, let's go.
Yeah.
And I mean, she does ministry with me. She's right there with me and everything else. So
she was also nice.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Every interaction I ever had with her, she just seemed like super nice.
Well, she should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, she's great. She's great. So, but yeah, Fields of Faith in the only thing we do. I mean, we do some other stuff as well. So, so the everyday life, and then we do the powerlifting meet. I don't know if you know about that. So we do, ended up being the largest in the state of Texas last year.
Just on accident, huh?
Yeah.
Just accidentally made the largest powerlifting.
No, we weren't trying to. After COVID, nobody was doing them. We have 517 lifters.
Oh, wow.
We're moving it to the rodeo arena next year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, how about that? So y'all will go out there for bucking bulls. We're going out to throw some weight around. So it's going to be fun. And
so you just wake up with like these crazy ideas sometimes?
Dude, I got that one from Coach Turner. He used to be at Redwater. He just left this last year. And in Sam's, I looked at him and I said, I'm tired of doing things like golf tournaments that everybody else can do. I want to do stuff that nobody can duplicate, help us with funding. Do a powerlifting meet. I'm like, what's that? First powerlifting meet I ever went to was the one we put on.
Was it adults? Is it adults or just kids? It's high schoolers?
Yeah, high schoolers.
Wow.
So Liberty Isle brings, a group. I mean, all the high schools around here bring a group.
So like they used to do powerlifting in school. Is this something big? Okay, but this is bigger, or this is just the same thing just after
a lot
COVID?
Of teams. We got guys driving 4 hours to come to our meet. It's unbelievable. So, and our board cooks 2,000 pancakes in about an hour and a half. I mean, it's unbelievable what those guys do.
I eat enough pancakes. I might lift something.
Come on, man. Come on. So we cook pancakes and sausage for the kids and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. So.
Golly. Have you tried something before that didn't work?
In FCA, not a lot. Before that, yes.
Well, give me an example of something you tried before and it just failed. Like you had to recourse.
Dude, fifth quarters. A lot of people are like, man, do you think a fifth quarter would be great? I'm like, I wasn't good at it.
Fifth quarter? What is fifth quarter?
It's like after a football game, they'll do a worship night, some games and stuff, have everybody out. Basically a youth service after.
Okay. What, everybody just tired?
Yeah, I mean,
I remember that. I spoke at somebody's fifth quarter one time, like Briggs.
Yes. Briggs has done some.
Shout out to Briggs. I got him coming soon. I just talked to him the other day at Tamales.
Yeah, Briggs is.
Shout out to Tamales. Yeah.
Briggs has done some good stuff. But yeah, he's done some fifth quarters. A lot of guys do. I'm actually going to speak at one at James Bowie, Sims. They do one. Of course, it's just the cool part there is you walk across the parking lot of the school and they go into what they call the Fox, which is like a multi-purpose room that they have. And so you have it there. So, but a lot of it's transportation. A lot of it is curfew, if a game gets out late,
Right, yeah.
Stuff. So, I mean, I call success is like beauty. It's all in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people are going to look at Fields of Faith and go, oh my gosh, that's huge. And you got other guys that are going to go,
Yeah.
I mean, and so you compare that to Passion Conference where you got 40,000.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, so it's all relative to what you do. You're just thankful for what God does and how He uses you. And so, we've done stuff. We've had huddles. Not a lot of kids show up, which is fine. I mean, here's the deal with me. If 5 show up or 5,000 show up, I'm going to put the same energy into it.
Right. And that's really what matters, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because Angie and I, just early on in our ministry, we just adopted the scripture. If I'm faithful in the little, He makes me rule over much.
Yeah.
I just got to be faithful in the little.
I'm trying to keep the same type of mindset with the podcast, like the same amount of like care and energy and stuff as if there was like 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 listeners, you know.
Oh, I thought that's what we had. Well, we got
no.
A couple?
Yeah,
two or three?
Yeah. No, just a couple. Now, the clips, I had my clips.
I saw your post the other day. You were very accurate about that.
Clips don't run away.
Yes.
But, you know, just a couple hundred views on like these, where I feel like the meat and potatoes are, like where like the good stuff is. Yeah. And they want to hear like a 30-second snippet of like a story being told on one of these deals.
It's an infomercial. That's all it is for only $19.95.
Yeah. But the product is free.
Billy Mays here.
Yeah. It's so crazy. But it is how our society's moving. It's because of TikTok. It's because of Facebook. It's because all these companies have geared us towards scrolling. Yeah. They're in the game of scrolling because if we're scrolling, first of all, they can get our data. Second of all, they can use that data to sell us stuff. Mm-hmm. They want to sell us stuff. I'm pretty sure, like I've deep dived, I went down a lot of rabbit holes. It normally comes back to they really just want to sell us stuff.
I don't think you mind me sharing this. So Jason Jackson, that's our speaker.
Right.
So we met, he came in and spoke to the youth pastors, and then we met with him afterwards just on our social media, just some things that we're talking about doing and ramping up in some areas. It's going to be pretty cool once we kind of launch it. And he met with Instagram. Instagram came in, like met with him. Like, hey, we want to meet with you. And like Instagram asked him to do like 2 to 3 videos a week. And he's like, well, that's not how I roll. Like until God releases me to do one, because that's his thing. Yeah. So he does a couple a month. But you said it exactly. They're wanting the clicks. Yeah, they're making money doing that. You know, and they're trying to figure out why and how he does what he does and has the followership that he does. Yeah. And so it's very interesting that you say, because it's just short 30 to 90 second clips.
That's all they care about.
And so for FCA at SAU last year, I went through the Armor of God. Clips were never more than a minute. Joe, I can't tell you how many conversations I had off those clips. Yeah. I didn't go into the full armor. We did, basically we did, the breastplate of righteousness, and I would do something out of that. I mean, I put on my son's old baseball helmet, the helmet of salvation. I talked about how it protects us, in baseball. But then, I had a spiritual lesson with it. Just 30 to 90 seconds. Dude, those guys, the conversation, and I think the momentum going into this year off of those clips, it's the craziest thing. And they don't really, like we were talking yesterday, I was talking with the guy that's kind of leading out. He goes, dude, we're just sitting around, we're just talking. Like they don't want a curriculum. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
Like we're having this conversation right now. We've ADD'd it.
Oh, big time.
Think of our society. We're all ADD to a degree.
For sure.
There's this ADD mindset. So wherever the conversation takes us, that's where we'll go.
Yeah.
Be real with it. That's how the Holy Spirit does.
Yeah.
It's like water. It just kind of flows where it is, So,
yeah, I could see where you could over curriculum the teachings. Yeah, for sure.
That's why kids may not be going to church.
Yeah. This is this like podcasting in general. This is and if I'm holding you up, just
no, you're not.
Yeah.
It's a group text.
Yeah.
I love it.
Podcasts. I think you're exactly right on why people like it, because and some of it I think even stems back to like the news. Like they don't want to be presented with information in a nice dressed up box no more. People don't really want that no more.
Give me the information and let me be the judge.
Right. Yeah. And so, or they'd rather have just people talk about it. Just even not necessarily just regular people, but people that are gonna. Because one thing I will say is good about podcasts, and why I like I listen to more podcasts than music, than movies, than that's what I'm taking in more than anything. If somebody talks, and like some of these podcasts are long, like 3-hour podcasts and stuff, I do that. That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. I will listen to people talk about aliens for 3 hours. I could do that. That's just another day at work.
I feel like I'm interviewing you all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Tell me about those aliens, Joe.
I can tell you about what people think about aliens.
I bet you can.
I don't believe I don't believe most of what I listen to, but I can tell you what other people think about aliens. But anyways, you get to know people you get to know the podcasters after a while in a way that you don't get to know the news lady that gives you a neatly packaged 5-minute segment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know you, lady. You're on the news, and that's where your credibility comes from. But we don't trust the news no more. Like, young people don't trust the news. And so the news is saying you're credible. You're this nice, presentable lady, and you give me this little 5-minute presentation. We don't care for that no more.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see regular people
where their
chopping
tats
up.
are covered up.
Yeah.
And they're not wearing hats and they got makeup on. We like just raw in this room.
I would rather, that's how I take information in. Like, I would rather have people have debates. I like hardcore debates, like where people, not like angry, but I like where people do have to like challenge each other. You don't see that very much on like.
Have you seen the Denzel Washington, Steve Harvey deal? Have you seen that?
No.
So Denzel said, watch how people respond to you and respond to me and then respond to you. You know, Harvey's like, what are you talking about? He said, they'll walk up and they're like, hey, Denzel, how you doing, man? Really appreciate what you do. Then they'll walk up to Harvey. What's Steve?
Yeah.
What you doing? He's like, what do you think it is? And Denzel looks at Steve Harvey and he says, you've been in their home.
Yeah.
I've just been in their theater. They come to see me. They had to pay to see me. You've been in their home.
Family Feud. For sure.
And the clips off of that are hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the answers that some people like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but the funny part is you know.
But that does make sense. Yeah, he gets that reaction because he's more familiar.
So think about the podcasters.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason's getting stopped everywhere he goes.
Right.
Because he's been in their car, he's been on their phone, he's been in their home. I mean, it's everywhere now.
I feel like I know some of these dudes. I talked about that on the show before. I feel like I know these guys because if you listen to some of these people talk week by week and sometimes even 3 hours, 4 hours stuff, like I feel like I know him. If I saw him, he would not know who I am. Exactly. But I feel like I know so much about him because he is and what he said is you can't be a dirt like I like Joe Rogan because he's he has like all the guests. But one thing he says, he's like, the reason why I don't edit the podcast and the reason why I talk so long on there is because his average episode is somewhere between like 2 hours and 3.5 hours.
Lost me at 30 seconds. No, I'm kidding.
But he said the reason why is because he said you can't hide that you're a dirtbag in over 3 hours. Mm-hmm. You'll eventually show that.
You will.
Yeah, you'll show your true self
because you
over
get comfortable.
Time. Right.
It's because you get comfortable, and that's what people want.
Right.
They want real. It's authenticity is what we've been talking. I mean, we talk about that a lot, even in our walk with Christ, man. And I think I just always tie it together. I mean, you've been around me enough, almost say that. I think that's the problem with us reaching people from the church side. Because we come in and we've got this Sunday best.
Right.
And yes, we need to look nice. I get all of that. I get it. Dude, people are hurt.
More importantly than how they're dressed. Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
there's bigger issues.
I mean, we got to be real. Like, it's like, bro, I'm screwed up, or I've made a mistake, or man, I used to be this way. I know what you're going through. Like, it's just this. I mean, we live in this broken world. I mean, since Adam and Eve sinned, it's a broken world. I mean, there's nothing, and we're all having to reap the punishment of that. Right. Sad to say, one man. Think about that. One man's sin. That's crazy. I mean, but one man came to redeem it all too.
Yeah.
But man, I'm just like I just think that you're onto something. At some point you're gonna get real, and I think that's the part of a long podcast or a podcast like you've got set up. Yeah, the lighting's got to be right and the mics and all that. That's all got to be right, or it doesn't come out as quality. But the personality side and the person is just got to be real. People are tired. They can read right through fake.
Right.
And they see that from a church side. I mean, people are just reading right through fake. And
I think
the ministries that are growing are being real.
Right. I think
they're not compromising their standard. Don't misunderstand me, but they're just being real.
Do you think that tradition can hold you back in a church?
Yes. Big time.
When I was working at where I worked at, but
yeah,
there would be like, I would go to the meetings and it's like the stuff that was argued about just blew my mind. And I've talked about this before on here, and I'm it was tough to work at a church. That really was difficult to see that side of it. Because, even I may have, I didn't say on here already where I worked at. I don't think I've ever said it. But anyways, like just instances like where I brought some football kids to the church and got asked like just an insane question by somebody, like basically, what are they doing here?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And then like seeing like they're arguing over like the hymns and stuff. And it's just like, I could, I was like deep diving into like stuff Paul was writing. And I was like, this is not the same. Like this.
Yes. And I'll tell you this, I ask people like that all the time. What are you willing to give up so your kids and grandkids can come to know Christ? And they got to decide.
Yeah.
And I understand foundation. I understand biblical foundation. But what are you willing to give up so your kids and your grandkids can have a relationship with Jesus? And I think we got to start asking that question, and we got to answer it. Even I'm getting there, and I'm like, how we do things, the curriculum, throw it out the window. I was talking to we do a camp with a bunch of NFL coaches, and so I'm not name dropping, please, but I was talking to a guy that's in the NFL, and if I mentioned his name, everybody would know him. And I said, bro, if there's just sometimes you need to put the binder on the shelf and just live life with guys. And it was the most freeing moment for him. Because he said, I feel guilty because I don't have enough time to have a true Bible study, but I can have just a conversation. And I'm like, that's all these guys want. Like, it's a freeing moment.
Yeah.
Understand it. You're deep diving into Paul. You're talking about that. All those letters, most of those letters were written to the church.
Right. Yeah. Those were like
written to the church. Like, hey, y'all are screwing up in this. We talk about sexual immorality stuff, if you will. That's a big topic.
Right.
Well, folks, that was to the church. That wasn't to the world. That was to the church.
Yeah, that's...
The world's going to be the world.
What do you write, 13 books of the New Testament?
Yeah, 2/3 is what I say. So somewhere that, yeah. 27 books, 2/3.
So most of the corrective stuff was written towards the...
the Church of Corinth, the Galatians, the Ephesians, Ephesus, the Philippians.
Yeah.
You just keep going down the line, and then Timothy, that was written to Timothy. Yes, both of those letters were.
And Titus was somebody he wrote to, right?
Yes, and then you got the Church of Thessalonica. But just to realize that those were written to the church.
So I got a question here. And I asked,
oh boy.
This is, the later it gets, the more my questions might get a little wilder, but that's okay.
See, it gets real in here after 3 hours.
After a while, yeah. I asked Big Slice this. I don't know if you know Big Slice.
Yeah, Big Slice I don't know him, but I've heard his story, and I want to meet him. And
I had him on the show
with him.
Yeah, Big Slice is cool. Yeah, you ought to do something with him.
Yeah.
But I asked him this, and because he has a real different way of, because of where he came from, of how he does ministry. He's doing church services in his restaurant.
Yeah.
On Thursdays.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. And so I asked him, I said, what do you think Jesus would think of, like, if he walked into a church on Sunday now?
I'm not going to say every church.
Right.
I think if we're not careful, we start throwing all churches under the bus.
Right. We don't want to do that.
But the church that's focused on the wrong things, I think he would lose his mind. Because that was the problem with the Pharisees. They were focused so much on the law that they were missing that the Messiah was sitting right in front of them.
Yeah.
That he was there. They killed him. Think about that.
Yeah.
We think the world killed him.
But no, it was the
Pharisees.
Religious folks,
it was the religious leaders. And, and guys like Big Slice, that's raw, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's, we've been talking about this a lot, because with FCA, I mentioned it earlier, is we're a discipleship ministry. Yeah, we do the big outreach stuff, but it's to lead to a discipleship relationship. That's what we want. And guys like Big Slice and the guys that he's probably reaching, because he's going to reach those guys because he knows where they come from.
Some rough characters in there.
And I've never met the guy, but I've just been around those guys enough. I'm just telling you, that dude's journey and discipleship journey and the angle he's going to come from is going to be totally different. It's not going to be A, B, C, D. It may be E, B, C, A, F.
Right.
But the result is still the same. We're growing in our relationship with Christ. He's going to have a different view because of where he came from. I mean, my wife has a different view because of how she was raised. And pretty toxic. I have a different view because, man, my parents have been married almost 60 years. In November will be 60 years. How about that?
Yeah, that's insane nowadays.
Lauded Carl and Sharon Akin. How about that? You know, my dad will be 82, still owns Akin Heating and Air, and still works full time.
There you go.
But I mean, because my background is get out there and go to work and get it done. But I was raised different. He discipled me different, if you will. He was a mentor, discipler. We'd drive down the road in his van, and I learned how to pray from him being in the van praying. Like living it out right in front of me. And Lord, if I could just get a couple of jobs, we'd be all right. We got 3 jobs to make our year, you know? I mean, just kind of one of those deals. And talking about scripture and just we never pulled out an app, which we didn't have apps back then.
Yeah.
We never pulled out the Sunday school book, there's nothing wrong with those things. Please hear me. There's nothing wrong with those things.
Right.
But there's nothing like an authentic conversation like we're having. That I can promise you Big Slice is having, that Chase Livingston's having with guys, that Matt Fry has every day with guys. You got to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
You just do. You got to meet them right where they are. And I think if we'll do that more often, we'll be the church will be a better place and people will flock to it.
Right.
They'll come to it. They're tired of the show.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, my youngest was telling me, he's just like, Dad, I'm just kind of over the whole thing.
It seems like everything as a whole has like a pendulum swing to it.
It
everything
does.
like politics to everything just reverts
absolutely.
one way back.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking the churches, from what I've seen, a lot of churches have moved more into like, this is presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the natural thing to happen next would be to swing back the other way.
It's starting to swing back.
Yeah.
You see if you go watch some of the new worship stuff, it's get in the middle of the room, just have a worship night. Everybody's just kind of standing around. That's kind of the move, or the pop-ups that's happening just maybe right out here in your parking lot, and then just have a pop-up worship service and everybody knows it's going to be there and they're inviting people to come, and it's just very authentic.
Right.
You know, throw up some string lights and let's have a good time on a porch.
Yeah.
So it's very acoustic driven. Lack of a better term. They're barking up the wrong tree when they start at me with all the lights or no lights or with this. I could care less.
Right.
If Jesus is glorified, the method doesn't matter. The problem is we're marrying methods.
Yeah.
And we're not marrying the master, which is Jesus. That's just the problem. And I think the lights are going to come back on. And then in 20 years, the lights will go back off.
Right.
And then they're going to come back. We got to stop. Stop all this. Just what fits the culture. That's what I talk to FCA guys about all the time. What is it that fits the culture of where you live? Because, I was in Buffalo, New York, not this summer, but last summer, consulting with those guys about a Fields of Faith at Bill's Stadium. And we had done a Zoom and walking.
At the Bills Stadium?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it gets better. So
that's really cool.
So I walk in or I Zoom with them. I'm helping them because, so here's a difference in culture. Fields of Faith, what we call an altar call. We give them an altar call. Kids come down, they respond. Buffalo Bills, we're not going to allow that to happen on their field.
Right.
Before the whole thing, the kids were allowed to play on the field and do all kinds of stuff, meet players, get autographs, all kinds of stuff. But you're not going to do an altar call. So I had to, I was helping them logistically, what that looks like, how to do it. So the guy's like, hey, man, why don't you and your wife fly up here and just be a part of it? I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
So we go up and we get there and he's like, of course, I already knew this, but Damar Hamlin was there. So I got to hang out with Damar for about 30 minutes. This is 6 months after he died and came back.
Yeah, that was wild.
And I met Nate that saved him.
Wow.
I met Dawson Knox and Von Miller. And Dawson Knox is a pretty cool dude. Damar is too. And I mean, okay, for all you Aggie fans, Von is too, but because he played at A&M. But man, it was a really cool moment. But it's different. It's a different culture.
Right.
And so like their whole thing is revival. This is what he told me. He said, my vision is revival through discipleship. So they have these small groups, so they're not really, they can't meet in schools. So they have these small groups. So one guy I talked to, he met with all the sixth graders.
The school won't let them?
Yeah, it's just a different.
Well, it's different there.
Different culture.
Yeah.
And I think we just got to stop down in the school stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just got to whatever we're allowed to do, let's run with it. Let's just go with it.
Yeah, where you could be like, they're not putting God in school anymore. You could get hung up over it. Yeah, that's...
Or you can go, okay, let's just find a different way.
Right.
I mean, and the power's in a small group.
Right.
We know that. So that's what they're doing. And they're leading these kids through a Bible app and through, the YouVersion app, and they're doing this discipleship thing. And so they did this celebration there that night with Fields of Faith in. And it was just, it was an unbelievable event. And in order to be able to come, you had to bring a friend. And it was unbelievable what they're doing. So it challenges them to share their faith. But it's a different culture. He's figured out, Jake up there has figured out what fits in his culture.
Yeah.
We figured out what fits in our culture. This is what works.
You can't just copy and paste Fields of Faith all over the world. It was thought up for here. So
yes. And it's, how they do it in Hot Springs, Arkansas is a little different. They got great numbers, but it's different. We just have a different way of doing it, and because it's what fits our culture. And I think that's what we've got to do when it comes to any other type of ministry, whether it's church or nonprofit or what we call parachurch ministry. I think you just got to figure out what fits culture and what your purpose is, and stay on that purpose. And there's churches in town that are very laser focused, and they know their niche and who they're trying to go after, and they're doing a great job at it. So I don't want to start naming churches, because if I miss one, then I'm in trouble.
You can't do that.
Yeah. So, but man, it's ministry's fun.
Yeah. It sounds like you live a cool life though with it, and that's cool. Like to be able to do what you love, but then it opens the door for cool stuff, like to be in these rooms and then go to these places. And
in the stressful moments, my wife reminds me, you do know what you get to do, not have to do. I'm like, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
I get to hang out with athletes.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
And, it is. It's fun.
We love sports in America. Yeah,
I was chaplain for a team that made a big run to the state championship. So Coach Abram, he was at Paul Pewitt at the time. He's at Pittsburgh now, and hands me this parking pass. I'm like, okay, thanks, Coach. I'm thinking, $10, state championship. Nope. It was underneath the stadium.
Oh, wow.
I parked where the Cowboys park.
Oh, cool.
That's different.
Yeah, that is.
So, it's a cool job.
Yeah.
But those are few and far between here and there. I'm telling you.
Yeah, you got to go through the bad stuff, like you said, to get to the good stuff.
But
one last question. I've been trying to ask people this at the end. This is more like if you could recommend 3 people for this podcast, who would you recommend?
Ooh. I would recommend Cole Yeldale. He's a youth pastor at Church on the Rock. Does a great job. So that'll be one of the same. His brother Zach, he's the worship leader at Church on the Rock, but then he's our worship leader for Fields of Faith.
Cool.
I would also recommend Casey Lauterbach. So he does all Rooftop Media. He does all of our production for all of our events. Cool. And does like LED walls and all that stuff. Wow. And is just really blown up in that. Him and Caleb Coleman. Caleb Coleman's really taken off as well.
Caleb Coleman, I feel like I just added him on Facebook. I've been on this adding spree lately, trying to find people to interview.
Yeah, Coleman Productions. He does big events as well. they both do. I mean, it'd be cool to have both of them at the same time to get them bantering a little bit. I'm just talking because they do stuff with peak fighting and those kind of guys.
Oh, dude, I done went down the peak rabbit hole. I had 2 peak fighters and a coach.
Yeah.
I had Craig on here, and then I had the 2 guys that are really fighting for peak, Jacorian Larry and Ian Hibbs.
Yeah.
I had them on
Ian's
there.
doing good, man. Was he undefeated right now?
Well, he lost the other day.
Oh, did he?
He finally lost, but it was by decision.
He's still undefeated in our eyes.
Yeah, in our hearts. Yeah,
But those 2 guys together would be really good just to talk production and just from the church side, what are people looking for? What does excellence look like in the church? That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Of course, you've already had Matt Fry. Who's an interesting person that you could have? I'm thinking there's a guy named Bobby Abels.
Bobby Abels.
He is, a lot of people don't know about him here in town. He is a SEC official. Used to be in the Big 12, it was SEC official, and now he is a supervisor of the deep officials in football for the SEC.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. He's a dude. But Bobby's story is he had a total laryngectomy, has no vocal cords, talks out of a trachea.
Oh, wow.
And, man, he's got stories of coaches that have just prayed for him, like big name coaches that have prayed for him and have asked about him. And like he's going through radiation, no vocal cords, just had this surgery, and he never missed a game in a season when he was doing it.
Oh, wow.
It's an unbelievable story. And so he's...
Bobby Abels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look up I'll go back over the recording and search all these people up. Do my homework on them,
Yeah, so, but...
just looking for more interesting ways to find people. So I was like, man, at the end of it, because I heard somebody else do this a couple of days ago. He asked, at the end of the episode, he was like, well, who do you recommend? 3? And I was like, man, that is an excellent idea. Yeah, that's a crazy idea.
I mean, we do the same thing when I talk to people. I mean, recommendations are a big thing. Another guy, I mean, if you just wanted to talk business people, is Chad Bates.
Chad Bates.
Near Me Roofing.
Okay, and, I know a couple guys that work.
I mean, just a giver. I mean, just a chill guy. Just a great dude. Can't miss there. But of course, I'll think of other guys after I'm off of here. But
if you think anybody, just message me.
But I want you to know, dude, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And man, just let God use you. You still got a plan.
Yeah, it's fun. This is fun, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I have a good time, dude.
Because you like to talk.
Yeah, this is...
and I like to talk. Yeah. And Matt doesn't like to talk, but he loves you. So that's how it works, right?
Yeah. Shout out to Matt Fry. I definitely...
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out that stupid hat he was wearing.
He was an intellectual. He had his Starbucks with him.
He's definitely moved to Pleasant Grove. No, I'm kidding.
How they changed, huh?
Oh, no, man. I'm messing with you. I'm an alumni from Pleasant Grove. So
that's where you graduated?
Yeah, I graduated from back in 92. So long time ago.
I was born in 94.
Stop it, man, bro. Bro. That was when my wife graduated. No, she graduated in 96. Yeah. 96. So you were 2 years from being born, and you were 2 years old when she was graduating. So how about that?
I'll be 30 in a month, and at the end of this month.
See.
And I'll be on a cruise ship. What's up?
Where are you going?
The Jubilee is a big ship, and we're going to Honduras, Belize, and Cozumel.
I've done that one.
I've been to Cozumel like 15,000 times. I might stay on the boat.
Yes.
But Belize and Honduras, I'll find something fun to do.
There's a deal called Chapmachkan or something like that. So, I can't remember.
You go through Carnival?
I've done Carnival and Royal. Either one. But it's a beach, and it's got all kinds of stuff to do.
Where's that? Which one is that at?
At Cozumel.
Cozumel.
We always go there.
We did a cave in Cozumel, like a deep cave.
There's a cave in Cozumel?
Dude,
it's a freaking island.
That may have been the coolest thing I've done in my life. This cave was so cool. It had like...
Suddenly we're reviewing cruises on this.
Yeah, sorry.
So Joe, tell me a little bit more.
I was just about to go through the outro, but now I'm talking about stalagmites. So there was like 13-foot like stalagmites. Which one is which? One of them goes up, one of them goes down.
I don't know. I ain't been in no cave. I just go snorkeling.
This was a cave in Mexico, and it was deep. And we went like 30 minutes inside of the cave. They give you like a headlamp and a PVC pipe to feel around with. And you got a guide. You
set a PVC pipe.
Yes.
And a headlamp. See, I'm out. If I have a headlamp on, I'm going to have more than a PVC pipe, if you know what I mean. So,
which, I mean, it would take...
We call that deer hunting.
It would take a crazy animal to live in this deal. Yeah. There was bats in there, but that was pretty much it. And there was these catfish that couldn't see, obviously. They're like blind catfish. Another take I was supposed to tell you earlier that came to my mind when we were talking about the Paralympics, this is some ADD stuff. We'll finish like this. But anyways, blind soccer.
How about that?
Come on, man. What is that?
Have you heard of beep ball?
Beat ball.
It's beep. So it's for blind softball or baseball players. And the ball beeps, and the bases beep, and so they can hear the ball coming at them, and then the bases, they know when they're getting close to the base. I mean, it's really, really cool.
Oh, my God. Beat ball.
Yeah. When I first started in ministry, a friend of mine's brother was blind, and like he was really good at beep ball. I was like, how do you get good at that? Like,
that is insane. Once again, there's no excuse. In the podcast,
Exactly.
there is no excuse. I saw these ladies were playing, they were playing volleyball on the ground, and every one of them was missing a leg. And they were on the ground, and they were just like, when it was time to move, they just moved around. It was insane. I'd never seen nothing like it.
Yeah. I mean, my wife, she just like, it's unbelievable to watch these guys and just how they train. And I mean, they put as much training in as these. Because
the Olympics is fun, but like this is a little brain bending. It's like it's a little.
Like, you're looking at it going, how?
Yeah.
You know, so.
It's like pure determination. I think, Lord, when I say stuff like we're about to get off here, and then I'll say a statement like, our mind really is stronger than our body, which could take you down but I don't know what they're able to achieve. Like I saw a guy do a step back in a wheelchair the other day. I don't know. That's the only way to describe it. He hit the brakes and was back and then shot it. And I was like, that was like a wheelchair step back.
No, that'd be a wheel back.
A wheel back.
Wheel back.
Yeah. And it's just right in his face. I was like, oh. That was nasty.
Well, and that's the deal, man. I mean, just those guys. I mean, like you say, what's your excuse? But that's all they've ever known.
Right.
You know, so we all have maybe something that we have to adjust to in our life. But when that's all you've ever known, you just.
Our life may have been hard enough yet to unlock some of that stuff.
That's right. That's right. So. Dude, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, dude, I've had a blast. I'm so glad you came on here. I was excited. I was telling Whitney, I was like, man, I have Eric on there. I know we was going to.
We're going to have fun.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to get you to come back, too. Maybe after Fields of Faith that you could tell me everything that happened.
Yeah, because we have our powerlifting meet, and then we do a big all-star event. So we do football, baseball, basketball, softball, and cheer.
Wow.
So about 250, 260 athletes, 40-plus coaches. It's Arkansas versus Texas. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal. You could do a podcast live, like, at the event. That's what you need to do.
I need to start doing stuff like that.
Do one like at the powerlifting meet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You could interview some guys.
People? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm taking my equipment on this cruise.
Are you really?
I'm going to find people, dude. I'm just going to ask you, hey, like 15-minute interviews with strangers.
So our whole thing on a cruise is no Speedo on the Lido kind of deal, you know?
No Speedo on the Lido.
Like, hey, sir, come here. Why are you wearing a Speedo?
Yeah.
Why are you wearing that?
That is the Speedos, it's a weird choice.
It's disturbing.
Yeah. When swim trunks are a thing, that's a real European thing to do, too.
Boy, it is. It is.
It'll throw you off. But anyways, what a great way to end the podcast. Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show. Joe Teel Podcast. I try to drop at least 2 interviews a week. I got sick last week, so this may not happen this week, but it's all good. Like, share, subscribe, do all the cool stuff. Follow me on all the social medias. Eric Akin, they can find you on Facebook,
Facebook,
and then
Instagram.
FCA is how
Red River FCA on Instagram and Facebook. That's where we're pushing right now.
Cool.
Eventually TikTok.
There you have. Ooh, that's a whole nother place to cross. Yep. And I keep getting tossed off of there. I feel like the stuff I say ain't that bad, but they don't want me.
You're just too political.
I try to shoot. That's a whole deal I don't want to get into. But anyways, shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all. We love you. Thank you for stopping by. And y'all be blessed.
Peace out.
You have it.